Dear students, in the last class we learned about the hazards of radioactive pollution. And now let us discuss two case studies of radioactive pollution, which is the Hiroshima and Nagasaki incidents. The immense destructive power of an atom bomb derives from nuclear fission chain reaction. That is, sudden release of energy is produced by splitting the nucleus, making up the bomb's core in a chain mechanism. The United States developed two types of atomic bombs during the Second World War and dropped them on Japan at two places in 1945. The first one was called the Little Boy and was dropped over Hiroshima, and the second one, called the Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki. They remain the only use of nuclear weapons in the history of the world. At 8:15 a.m. on 6 August 1945, during World War II, an American B-29 bomber, Kristen Enola Gay, dropped the world's first deployed atomic bomb, the Little Boy, over the city of Hiroshima, Japan. The Little Boy was a gun barrel type atom bomb, and its explosive energy was derived from the nuclear fission chain reaction imposed upon fissionable uranium-235. The explosion wiped out a large portion of the city and immediately killed 80,000 people. Tens of thousands more died within months, and several thousand suffered over the next several years from the effects of radiation exposure. At 11:02 a.m. on August 9, 1945, 3 days after the Hiroshima bombing, the American pilot Major Charles Sweeney dropped the world's second deployed atomic bomb, Fat Man, over the city of Nagasaki, Japan, from a B-29 bomber named Boxcar. Compared to the one used on Hiroshima, the Nagasaki bomb was rounder and fatter, and so it was called Fat Man. It was called the implosion type bomb, and the destructive energy was derived from the nuclear fission chain reaction on fissionable material plutonium 239. More powerful than the one used at Hiroshima, the bomb was built to produce a 22,000-ton blast of TNT. However, the topography of Nagasaki, which was seated in narrow valleys between mountains, saved it some extent from the bomb's full destructive capability. But the bomb killed an estimated 40,000 people and inflicted injury and radiation exposure damage upon several thousands. Next is the Chernobyl accident or the Chernobyl disaster. Several serious accidents have caused concern about safety, about the function of reactors and disposal of radioactive waste. A terrible nuclear reactor accident was the Chernobyl disaster, which took place on April 26, 1986 at 1:21 a.m. at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near Pripyat, a small city in Ukraine. The accident was the result of a damaged reactor design that was operated with the inadequately trained staff. The explosion at the Chernobyl plant blew off the 1,000 metric tons concrete roof from the nuclear reactor, and the reactor caught fire. Two Chernobyl plant workers died on the night of the accident, and a further 28 people died within a few weeks as a result of acute radiation poisoning. The accident caused an uncontrollable radioactivity release into the environment, and large quantities of radioactive substances were released into the air for about 10 days. In fact, the explosion released was 30 to 40 times the radioactivity released by the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. During the 10 days, about 5,000 tons of boron, dolomite, sand, clay, and lead were dropped onto the burning core from helicopters in an effort to extinguish the blaze and limit the release of radioactive material. A cloud of radioactive material gathered over the nearby town of Pripyat. 135,000 people were evacuated from the area within days after the accident and another 150,000 by 1991. Most of the flora and fauna in the surrounding area were also killed or mutated or irradiated. Acute radiation syndrome was originally diagnosed in 237 people on site, and several of them died later. There was an increased rate of thyroid cancer, leukemia, and genetic anomalies in thousands of area residents, particularly among children. In fact, within years, about 4,000 children were diagnosed to have thyroid cancer. Early detection saved most, but 9 succumbed to the disease. Even today, many suffer from illnesses that are related to exposure to the fallout from Chernobyl. In 2000, the last working reactors at Chernobyl were shut down and the plant was officially closed.